All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Building Resilient Futures webinar. This webinar will become part of a toolkit that we are preparing for the partners in this grant. My name is Joe Tavares. I am the director of the California Center for Climate Change Education. This grant is a partnership between our Climate Center and the LA Regional Consortium, LARC. And we also have as partners in this project, in this grant, U.S. Green Building Council of California, and the 9 colleges that we hope will take advantage of this toolkit. Now, today we are very honored to have a guest speaker, Luke Meyer. And as part of our shared work under the Building Resilient Futures Grant, we'll be featuring Luke. He's the director of the Los Angeles Center for Excellence for Labor Market Research, hosted at Mount San Antonio College. And the Centers of Excellence, they are a statewide resource designed to help California community colleges make data-informed decisions about CTE programs, pathways, and regional workforce needs. So we'll be combining the presentation that Luke will be given with some amazing links for resources that Luke has compiled and sending that to you all in the form of a toolkit. Now, a little bit more about the Centers of Excellence for Labor Market Research, also referred to as COE. The COE provides high-quality, demand-driven labor market intelligence that can support faculty, deans, and administrators as you explore ways to revamp existing programs or design new climate-aligned pathways. Their resources are especially valuable as colleges consider curriculum development, program justification, and alignment with high-road clean economy workforce demand. By integrating COE labor market intelligence into your planning, your colleges will be better positioned to design equity-centered, future-proof programs that respond to regional employer demand and advance the goals of the Building Resilient Futures initiative. Luke's presentation will walk you through how to access these tools, request data, and apply COE resources to strengthen your program development process across the grant. Now, before I turn on to Luke, I would like to review with you all our grant goals so that you can be thinking about how we can advance our grant goals and take advantage of all the resources that Luke will explain to us. So George, if you don't mind jumping to slide number 3 of this presentation. I think it's slide number 3. There we go, that one. So what we want is just remind everyone, what are the goals for this grant? This is a California's Job First Catalyst grant, and the main goals are to develop, refine curriculum in green building, electrification, decarbonization, climate adaptation, all of that aligned with state decarbonization goals and emerging clean technologies. Our second goal is to engage employers and unions to structure work-based learning and apprenticeships pathways. Our third goal is to conduct research and stakeholder convenings to evaluate best practices, assess student support needs, and refine strategies for program scalability. So this is definitely one goal that aligns really well with this workshop today. And finally, we want to strengthen equity-focused recruitment efforts to ensure that women, LGBTQ+ individuals, formerly incarcerated individuals, and frontline community members are prioritized for participation. So those are just the goals for our grant, and I wanted to make sure that you all reminded of that. And so with that, we can stop sharing our screen, and we will now pass on to Luke. Luke, take it away.
Thank you very, very much, Joe. And welcome, everyone. I apologize in advance. I'm going to be jumping around from PowerPoint to Adobe to Chrome. So please apologize, or I apologize if we get a little bit off here. So I have several resources to share, about, I think, five. So this is the first. This is our Book of Green Jobs that we did in collaboration with the Los Angeles Economic Development Corporation's Institute for Applied Economics. We worked primarily with Shannon Sedgwick, their senior director, excuse me, and their GIS analyst, I think senior GIS analyst, actually, Matthew Skyberg. So I'm not going to go through every slide in detail in the interest of time, but I want to tell you what prompted this work. So a question that Joe is guilty of asking many times, as long and many others. How many green jobs? How many jobs are there in the green economy? How many jobs? So, LA has approximately 5 million jobs. Well, what portion? What difference? I argue, what difference would it make if I said 1 million jobs? What if I said 3 million jobs? What if I said all 5 million were green or potentially green? How does that move the needle? So, what we aimed to do was to refocus this question not to the quantity of green jobs, but to those most aligned with the needs of developing a green economy, specifically in LA, by aligning it with specific occupations. So that is what our work aimed to do. And essentially, I want to show you our methodology. It just shows a lot of background on trends in the green economy, how we got to where we are. But essentially, we started off with over 800 occupations. We started with a foundational report by Carol Zabin up in the Bay region, California Workforce Development Scoping Plan Sectors, excuse me. She identified 19 industries critical to this work. Running a staffing pattern on that, LAEDC identified 577 occupations. No one's going to read this if we have almost 600 occupations in it. So we then took that list and aligned it with ONET, the leading occupational research entity in the nation. And also, Lightcast has done some green job research and has some filters. From there, we narrowed it down to 207. So we're getting somewhere. But it is important and to keep equity and other things in mind as we train our students. We don't want to train them for jobs where they can't support themselves or their family. So we ran all of those 200 plus occupations and came up with several that met the living wage at the entry level or 25th percentile. We had a large list from that. I can't remember the exact number, but we narrowed it down to 21 focus occupations based on entry level requirements. So we're focused on primarily middle skill jobs, those that require a high school diploma or more, and up to and including those that require a bachelor's degree or less. The number of annual openings, we're not trying to train our graduates for jobs where there's 10 openings. We want to hit the big targets to make the most impact. And then again, wages. So we decided on 21 occupations. We separated them into 4 buckets: stepping stone occupations, middle skill occupations, elevated, and emerging. Not technically emerging, but more niche in this case. And they didn't meet one of the previous standards for annual openings or for wages. And I'll show you those occupations very briefly here. So starting off with the stepping stone occupations. Spoiler alert, you're going to see electricians a lot in this as we expand the capacity of our electrical grid to power our future EVs, to power everything. We need electricians very, very direly. So you will see this pop up. And if you notice, a lot of these stepping stone occupations are in construction. So this aligns with the aims and goals of BRF. Plumbers, welders, construction inspectors, the hazardous material removal workers, this needs to be done prior to construction. So this would be folks that were working after the Palisades and Eaton fires and others to prep spaces and lots for construction. And then, of course, water, arguably the most valuable resource on our planet. We need people that know how to treat that water and make it clean and safe for all of us. Then we get up to our middle skill occupations. You can see some in automotive. This would be specifically related to those technicians working on EVs and hybrid vehicles. Then we got our HVAC folks, the electrical and electronic engineers and technologists and technicians. So if you take EV charging stations, for examples, you need electricians to work with the high voltage required to install those. But when it comes to maintenance and repair, these are the folks kind of doing that work, and they'll be working likely under the electricians. Architectural civil drafters, the environmental science protection technicians, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and industrial engineering technologists and technicians. Then we get up to those that are elevated. Again, construction managers, compliance officers. So this is making sure everything is up to code and also complying with emissions regulations and others. Logisticians, because everybody wants things delivered to their door. We need to figure out the most expedient route, or I can't, the word I'm thinking of. And then biological technicians working in biotech or biomanufacturing, also very important. And then we have these emerging occupations. Again, they're not emerging, they've been around, but they either have smaller job openings, like you see here, environmental engineering technologists and technicians with only 20 projected job openings, or their wages fell below that standard, as was the case with one occupation that's actually missing is solar installers. You don't see that here. And that is probably what people first think of when they think of green jobs. But the wages were too low to be included in this. But we did have chemical technicians and wind turbine service technicians as we build offshore wind, and we have over in Palm Desert and whatnot on the way out there, all the fans, and then up in Monterey Bay, the offshore fans. So this is a valuable resource. I can also I'm going to share all of these links, but you can download the complete report here. It looks like this on our website, and I can show you the link to that. Next is the fire recovery dashboard. That is right here. And again, I will share the link. When you first access this, you will be on the main page. This is also published on the Chancellor's Office website, but I can't find that link, so use this one. We do some supply and demand for occupations critical to rebuilding, specifically in this case, from the Eaton and Palisades fires. Then we look at educational program capacity. What programs do we have at the community colleges? What about adult ed? And then we scoured the eligible training provider list, ETPL, as well. And which programs are the largest? Where can colleges create new programs? Where can they expand existing programs? Then we have one specifically for our community colleges, and then we have the program titles. This comes from the Chancellor's Office Curriculum Inventory, or COE. So without further ado, it looks like this. Okay, you can filter by specific types of occupations. These are major occupational groups, then specific occupations. So if you wanted to search for, again, electricians, you would highlight only electricians and you would see the supply and demand, but I am going to reset these filters so you can see a little bit more. We have some very broad figures here. The total demand is over 100,000. The total supply, just over 4,000. So look at our supply gap is enormous. We have a lot of work ahead of us. But you can see over here the demand and supply for occupation. So again, if we look at electricians here, the just under 11,000 job openings, and we're only training 362 new electricians per year. So a lot of work done to close that gap. Over on the right side, we have pre-fire and fire-related demand. There was a report commissioned by California EDD through Dun in Bradstreet. You can find that in the methodology, but their findings suggested that there would be a 59% increase on average in demand for housing construction jobs due to the fire, so the rebuilding efforts. So when you look again at this, we have the existing demand from existing projections. So again, if we look at electricians, we were only looking at about 7,000. But when you factor in that additional potential 59%, you have another 4,000, which totals that 11,000 figure. So that's how this works in a nutshell. Very easy to navigate. And Sandra Sanchez, bless her heart for requesting us to do this. It was a lot of work, Sandra, but this is very valuable. And I got to give a huge shout out to our statewide director, Laura Coleman, for her help, our research analyst, Ben Falls, on his work in this, and specifically the South Central Coast COE director, Jacob Poor, who actually developed this dashboard. So he did the heavy lifting. But Sandra then used these with her team to develop these profiles that I want to show you. These are amazing because these are 2 pages and they tell you everything you need to know by college. So this is specifically for Glendale Community College. You can see it is less than 25 centers, less than 25 miles from the fire epicenter. And in this case, we're talking about the Palisades or the Eden. I think it overlaps with both, actually. So what we have here, starting off, we have their program inventory. So you can see they have averaged about 22 completions from their architecture and architectural technology programs, 5 from mechanical drafting, electronics and electric technology, and so on. So when you sum these, you get 37 total completers. That should technically be awards issued, because one student could be earning a certificate here and be counted, and also be counted here. But it's if it's not 37, it's at least 30, let's say. So this is how many workers we need. Glendale Community College clearly not going to meet this demand by themselves. We're all in this together. Here's the link to the dashboard that you can access on these handouts. And then here's some of the training data. So from the eligible training provider list, here at Glendale, you can see the program. You can see some of this. Twilight Adult Education School also has a construction program. And then some of this about no adult ed. Now, that's the first page. Then we get into the second page, which I think is really where the meat of this is. So this is broken out into the major occupational groups. So first, we have electrical, HVAC, and technical installers. In this group, this many jobs are needed, just under 20,000. You can see it broken out with electricians accounting for more than half of that. And then you got our HVAC folks, security and fire alarm installers, telecommunications, solar, elevator and escalator installers. You can see how many jobs are required. GCC has 5 completions related to those. And then on down to heavy equipment, machinery, and drafting, also needed for construction purposes, total of 17,000. You can see this is where most of their programs live. And here are the occupations as well as their demand. So these are really great. I have a few of them here. I don't know when these will be published. Actually, people at your schools might already have those. That's resource number 2. Resource number 3, I have to tell you, is not published yet, so I cannot share this with you, but I did want you to be aware that we are doing this at the COE. We are calling this the Green Jobs Pipeline, a new data-driven model for community college partnerships with employers specifically. So what we did in a nutshell, again, I'm going to gloss over this. Sorry. We mapped all the programs related to green jobs at our colleges, and we built out, using various sources, a verified green employer database. And our next step that we have not done yet is to initiate outreach and connection strategies. So what we looked at here is we obtained business level data from the City of LA Green Business Program. We obtained some green businesses from EconoView's business listing that lists organizations by NAICS code or industry. And then the research analyst that compiled this data, Faris Sukar, based in the Bay Area, he works as a green energy, decarbonization, sustainability business consultant, and has worked with a lot of employers throughout the state, so has developed quite a robust network. So many of his LinkedIn contacts total currently, and this is still being built out, so this is going to expand. We have over 1,000 employers listed, verified with address, phone number, email, and website, everything we need to reach out. we also consulted the U.S. Green Business Council for California, the City of LA Economic and Workforce Development Department, EDD, LA Optimized Program, as well as California Green Business Network. So ultimately, what we will aim to do is clean our database, which we have done preliminarily, but consider this a living life cycle. We will come back to step one again and again and again. And then we have our strategy formulated, but we haven't done this yet, to reach out to faculty and employers. So number one is faculty. So we will reach out to you if you are teaching an active green jobs course, or a course that trains for these skills. And we'll ask you very simply, who do you have relationships with? What businesses are you actively engaged with? And hopefully a lot of you have those relationships to help get our students work-based learning opportunities and ultimately jobs when they complete. But for those of you that don't, we will initiate a strategy where either, you're welcome to, or we can ourselves, or perhaps we'll task Joe with it since she asks so much of me, to reach out to these employer either via email, phone, snail mail, what have you, whatever, and ask them what their hiring needs are. First and foremost, do you need electricians? Do you need HVAC? And we will be able to determine that by the industry they're engaged in. Then ask them, well, are you seeking new employees? And then finally, would you be interested in partnering with our 19 community colleges, or one of our 19 community colleges in LA, to provide work-based learning opportunities for our students, and ultimately, upon completion of their program, if they meet your requirements, a job that pays them a living wage. So that is what we're aiming to do with this. Okay. Next, I forgot our sector profile. Let me show you this. So this is specifically, we just published 10 of these. Huge lift. I want to thank Priscilla Fernandez, who primarily worked on these. Our editor, Lauren McSherry, did a lot of work that you'll see. And this one is specifically for ECU. And so what we did here is provided a profile of the programs aligned with this sector based on the top to sector crosswalk from the chancellor's office, as well as did our own work to connect those those programs to occupations. Very high level overview on the first page, how many jobs were in construction, how much growth is projected. So going on to the next page, this is the industry background, all narrative. This is a lot of Lauren's work and her team describing, construction after the Eden Palisades fire. That's recent news. What's going to happen? What's the fuel? Talking about phasing out oil and gas production to reach all of our zero emission goals in California as we lead that charge. And then another section on how does this sector relate to the California Jobs First plan, specifically the LA Jobs First. So in here, it says whether or not it is a target sector or not. And in this case, renewable energy and construction are target sectors. So that's good. And then we have linked to the plans here, so you can read those. Then we highlight the top 10 occupations in this sector based on annual openings. So again, not those niche occupations, but in this case, jobs that have greater than 100 job openings every single year. Again, electricians leads the way. So this consistency is key. It means we're really on to something here. And then also we wanted to only identify those jobs that pay a living wage. So there's some jobs that have tons of, I know for a fact, helpers of electricians has a lot of job openings as well. But guess what? The wages don't meet the threshold at the entry level. So here is all of the traditional LMI data for those 10 occupations. And very quickly at the end, Priscilla did develop a comprehensive dashboard. If you are teaching in one of these more niche areas and you say, hey, my occupation's not on there, you can find it on that dashboard. It is incredible. She did an awesome job. Next page, we show the wages, hourly wages in this case. starting from highest to lowest. We have the 25th percentile, which we use as a proxy for entry level, the median wage, and the experience level wage. So you can see some of these, there's a pretty wide range that construction and building inspectors are getting paid from the low to the high end. And you see more with some occupations with a more truncated or smaller range. So architectural and civil drafters are living more in a $14 pay range versus, you have almost a $30 range here, a lot of variation in the labor market. Okay, so that's wages. Then we did a job posting analysis in LA for these jobs or occupations within the last year so that we could align those with the traditional LMI. Here you can see all the occupations, how many job postings we identified, unique job postings, I should say, the advertised median annual earnings from those, because thanks to California law that now requires that in job postings, the skills that were listed in these, and obviously, if you know numbers, you know that these are going to be pulled in the direction of these heavy hitters here, architectural and civil drafters, electricians, because they make up the majority of the sample, versus these civil engineering or sheet metal workers. You're probably not going to see a whole lot of those skills listed here. So these demand skills and employers are aggregates from these right here. So that's job postings. Then we get into workforce demographics and student demographics just to see how they align. So just as an example, LA workforce on a whole is about 40% workers identify as Hispanic. In the ECU sector, 52%. So we would say that Hispanic workers are overrepresented to the tune of 12% here. Not necessarily a bad thing, but then you go down to Asian workers making up 50%, 15% of the LA labor market. You would say they're underrepresented in the ECU sector to the tune of 8%. Same thing with, and then we do students, we analyze student data here. Excuse me, that's what I meant to say. So student data, when we look at all CTE students, about 56% of our students identify as Hispanic, and in ECU programs, 69%. So we are our Hispanic students, again, overrepresented here a little bit. But anyway, that's what we do here for demographics to see where there are some potential equity gaps. We do the same for workforce and student gender and workforce and student age. Then we get into student employment outcomes. So I know people are very interested in this. How are our students doing? Good news. In ECU, our students are earning the second highest on average upon exiting these programs. Now, note that does not mean necessarily completing. They've taken courses in top codes aligned with this sector, and then they've left the program. So a lot have completed, but some haven't. So on average, students almost earning $52,000 per year. That's excellent. Second only to public safety and on down the line. Then on the right, we have some other metrics, how many students, so you can see size, ECUs right in the middle here, kind of. You can see ICT leads the way with 60,000, same with business, and then life sciences and biotech are by far our most niche sector. And that's because there's very few top codes aligned with this. Same thing with global trade, there's only one, so that's why. Median change in earnings, how much are students increasing their earnings from before to after, percent earning a living wage. Clearly, we want this to be 100%. But good news, ECU, I think, almost leads the way. Public safety at 59. Over half of our students are earning a living wage. That's pretty good. And percent with a job closely related to field of study. This is according to CTOS data. Students are asked after a year after exiting, are you working in a job that is related to what you studied? And just almost 8 out of every 10 in ECU are reporting that they are. So that's good news that they're using their education. Now we get into the supply side. So first we organize all of the almost 1,300 completions in the ECU sector by college. You can see our heavy hitter in the region is LA Trade Tech, about a third of the completions, followed closely by Mount SAC. And then where there's dashes, that means in the last 3 years, there have not been any completions reported to Datamart from those colleges within the ECU sector or from top codes associated with that sector. Then we break down the top codes. So here they are. You can see that by far architectural, Architecture and architectural technology is our largest program, issuing the most awards at 310, followed by HVAC, followed by construction, followed by, or excuse me, then electrical, then construction. And you can see our more niche programs with civil drafting, drywall, and others. Then this is a question we get asked a lot. Actually, I have to shout out Dr. Mikey Young from PCC. He was the first one to ask me, where do the community colleges not have a adequate share of awards in terms of programs, or where are we lagging private institutions, or where there are opportunities basically for new program creation? So we highlight all the programs in the sector that have not issued any awards in the last 3 years. So electromechanical technology. I do have to clarify, this does not mean we don't have these programs. There have been no awards, Chancellor's Office recognized awards issued in the last 3 years, glazing, roofing, others. So these represent a great space for program innovation, but I just must say, please reach out to us before just jumping in and creating, because this is a very high level analysis. We would like to do our due diligence and dive a little deeper before confirming that. And then finally, here's a supply demand analysis looking at related occupations, how many job openings combined, the community college supply, the other post-secondary supply, so other institutions outside of the community college, and then a supply gap. Again, this is also high level, so before starting programs, please reach out to us to confirm. And then finally, we go through, this is the same table in all 10 of these reports, all the sectors, the number of middle skill occupations aligned with that sector. So you can see here, business and entrepreneur, ECU has the most. And the number of unique awards offered by our 19 community colleges. So degrees and certificates, also non-credit awards and others. And then the number of colleges that have issued awards. So in ECU, 17 out of our 19. You can see ag, not a huge, this is actually the only sector along with these unassigned one, which is where our paralegal and some other programs live. We didn't issue, they're smaller. All right, and then here is what I'm talking about with the dashboard. So here's the link that you can click to go there. I will show you very quickly this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because we're already running on it. Continue to destination. Sorry, it was a bit.ly link. So just click on that. This takes you here. You can look at all of the occupations. Again, if your occupation was not in here, just sort by annual openings. You can see home health aides in the health profile. It was not in there because look at these low earnings. But look at that, 65,000 annual job openings. That's wild. And you can see some of the more niche occupations here with only a few, like bridge and lock tenders, only 4 job openings. So if you're interested in that, you can filter by skill level. So this would be our community college focus here. You can look at only the top 10. You can filter by any of the sectors. You can filter if you want to look at those that only require a associate degree. You can do that if you know the name of your occupation, or you can type it in. Then on the supply side, here's a comprehensive supply dashboard, all the awards. Here are the high levels. So you can see good news. Look, we've boosted our awards big time from 2022-23 to the 23-24 by almost 16,000. That is impressive. So good work on you. You can see all of our data sources here. Now, I want to go back to my cheat sheet to see what I'm going to do next. Okay, Lacey. So I am going to be speaking at this event. It is December 8th and 9th at the BMO Stadium in Exposition Park, right by USC. I believe the MLS teams play there. And I will be speaking on Brian Cox is going to be there. That's cool. You can view the agenda that I had there. Sorry. And I'm going to be speaking Monday, December 8th at 3:45 on a panel. Oh, here it is. Right here. A prepared workforce for the zero emission vehicle future. So come get a ticket and show up, and we're going to be talking about a lot of good stuff. One of the really interesting links that if you really want to dive deeper into these areas are these jobs, JOB ESS models. What they did here is take these different areas, EVs, EVSEs, natural gas, hydrogen, and fuel cells, broke it out by economic impact as well as workforce needs. So this is huge. This is amazing informative work here. All right. And then finally, that's the jobs models. I did want to briefly show you our other dashboards, which you can find if you go to our COE website. Again, I'll share this link. You click on data tools. We have the top SIPSOC code crosswalk, occupational characteristics, all the occupations we have data on, what's the portion of men and women and age group and race and ethnicity, veteran status, part-time, full-time work by all these occupations, super useful for equity purposes. Occupational demand, you can view all occupations and the projected demand over the next 5 years. Supply by tops or community colleges, all 116 in the state. You can filter by region, all these, and then all the other institutions in California, both private, public, and others. You can see that supply by zip code or classification of instruction programs. And then the CSU and UC programs lookup was a tool to make sure if you're considering a baccalaureate degree program at our community colleges that you don't duplicate with efforts from the Cal State and UC system. And then lastly, I wanted to walk you through the program recommendation process. So if this has sparked your interest, if you want to start a new program, if you want to modify your existing program, this is where you land. And again, you will have this hyperlink. You come to the program recommendation website for LARC, and you can view all these resources, checklists to make sure that you have everything you need, the FAQs. If you don't know your voting member, you can find it for your college here, all this stuff. But if you know what you're doing and you want to request LMI, you expand program data request, and here is the link to complete the form. We also posted an instructional video for how to complete the form if you need help. But basically, this form asks you a series of questions that provide us with the necessary information to get you the LMI you need. So you would be with a community college, then you select your region, then your college. Why are you requesting data? Are you starting a new program? Are you modifying? Are you exploring an area? Or if you don't know, that's fine too. And then asks for your program name, top code, occupations you train for, and that's pretty much it. And then there's a text box at the end to include any additional information that we might need. I'm going to take a breath. That was a lot. I
Wow.
believe that is all, Joe. I'm going to turn it back to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, Luke, this was fantastic. Thank you so much. You get a green heart. Hold on, where's my green heart? You got a
Thank
green
you.
heart right there. Woo! This was amazing. This is so helpful. And I know that, once we put together all the links that you compiled for us, this will really be very useful as a toolkit for all the college, not only the 9 colleges in our coalition for this grant, but any other college in our region that might be um, looking at their portfolios and wondering like how can we help our students take advantage of these opportunities that are coming our way. We know there has, of course, you already mentioned the event that you're going to be talking at that is focused on preparing for the Olympics. Right? I want to emphasize that invitation to everyone who is watching this. We will be there at the Lacey Road to 2028 event on December 8th and 9th. We will have the Climate Center will have a table, and we are inviting all partners to consider bringing their faculty and deans that are interested in going, attend this event. It's definitely something that could count as professional development, so something that could be covered by the funding that you have from this specific grant. So it's really a great opportunity. And then the other thing I want to do is just recap because you covered so much, Luke. So I just want a quick recap here. You talked about the Book of Green Jobs and you shared with us your methods and all the different occupations. You showed us your fire recovery dashboard, including that side surveying of profiles by colleges, which Sandra and her team developed,
Yeah,
right?
those 2-page handouts. Yeah, those are
For
great.
the handouts from the 25 miles. So that's both resources faculty and administrators should review because, of course, it will give you a sense of all these different opportunities in this sector that we're trying to um, meet the demands, the ones now and the ones projected for the next few years. Then that fantastic Green Jobs talent pipeline, that was fantastic as well. Wow. So that's like
Yeah.
people are just not.
I'm so excited for that. That's going to be a game changer. I think that's going to be maybe the single most important thing we do, to be honest.
Yes, and we definitely are interested in working with you on contacting the
Yeah.
employers. We have already a list of employers that we work with.
Okay.
George is one of our main liaisons, and Andrea, of course, also and her team at the Career Center have been fundamental in creating those two-way conversations with the employers.
And we will, sorry to interrupt, but yes, we will also work with your career development office if need be, because they need this information. And then also, I don't want to fail to mention LARC's job developers. They have so much on their plate trying to cover the entire labor market. So if we can just pitch in one small way, I know that will make their jobs a little easier.
Yeah, and we work really well with all those groups that you mentioned and the job developers from LARC
Yeah.
as well. So having these conversations, making sure that we're all on the same page and that we're working towards these closer relationships with the employers. So we have, of course, our summer program. Every career is a climate career. This past summer, we successfully placed over 120 students in paid internships that we funded with Department of Labor funding. And that
Awesome.
created the framework for us to have these conversations with employers and to give them a sense of how amazing our community college students are. And we're already seeing their response. Like they loved having our students for 16 weeks working for them, and they want to hire and they want to continue training those students for the next application and the next opening. So we are seeing the results, even though we started this 2 years ago, we already seeing the results. Um, and
Yeah,
of
we know that we're not training enough students in the trades. That has been that's a fact.
yeah,
Okay. And so when these jobs come available, aka employers need to build buildings, need to build whatever it might be, they're
right.
going to need talent. And if they can't find it within their own network of family, friends, or whatever, they need a reliable source. And we can be that at the community colleges because we are located everywhere essentially. So it's convenient for students wherever they are.
Absolutely. And to add to that, for us at the Climate Center, we want to make sure that we're training these students and these future workers uh, with the understanding of climate change as something that will impact what they're doing now and what they're going to be building that will prepare our communities in terms of resilience, right? There will be a whole lot of mayhem and a whole lot
Hey,
of impacts.
if you're
Prepare.
ignoring the impacts, I'm sorry, you're living under a rock.
Yeah,
We just had that atmospheric river over LA for an entire week.
yeah,
Did anybody see the Northern Lights? Not around here, but that's
right.
activity related to what we're doing.
Yeah, and then to take you up on this this example that you're giving, how much water can we storage for the periods that are inevitable that we'll have drought, right? Like, so
Yeah,
when we have these opportunities to store water for those later periods of drought, this is the kind of infrastructure that we are going to need to be building in LA, well, everywhere in California, really, but focusing here in LA to prevent flooding, but also to store water. And we know that there are a number of agencies and partners that we work with, that we talk to, who are already creating the policies, creating the plans. And so it's for us, and then, like you said, to um, connect the community college to those opportunities that will be there for our communities.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, it's a fact that we need to increase our capture rate. That's a fact.
yeah,
We have to be able to capitalize when we have atmospheric rivers.
right,
We need to be able to keep all of that fresh water. Well, it's impossible to keep it all, but just better than say what is it now? 10%,
right,
15%, 30%? I
right.
don't know.
Yeah, we have to be able to replenish our aquifers. And then, of course, the other extreme fires, just, it wasn't that long ago, just back in January, we had the fires, and it was so great to see the fire recovery dashboard and the work that you were doing and other people like Sandra really leading the way. It's really
About our firefighters first and foremost and our first responders, because
as
we
well.
wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Thank you.
Right. And so I love the fact that we were able to give our partners this big overview. Then you shared with us the energy construction utilities report for the LA County
Sector profile, correct.
files. That was fantastic. What a great resource. And
Yep.
that side of the data dashboard too, that people can go play further. Uh,
Comprehensive data dashboard. Thank you, Priscilla.
yeah, Priscilla did amazing. And again, I don't think people are gonna have a lot of free time during the break because clearly they're gonna have to be exploring all these tools and studying. But fear not. I know that most partners will already have scheduled or are scheduling one-on-ones with George and Melanie from our partners at USGBC. So there will be an opportunity if you're watching this recording and you're wondering, oh my gosh, there's just so much here. I don't even know where to begin. Well, having a conversation with George and Melanie would be a great point to start and to be able to digest, to get help in digesting a lot of this information and seeing how that supports you. And ultimately, getting to that point where you can have, if you're faculty, you can have conversations with your deans about opportunities that you see in these resources and that match what you know on the ground for your college. If you're a dean and maybe you're not super familiar with construction, which we know is the case, several deans have told us that, they're excited about this, but they're not familiar with the sector. Well, another opportunity here to talk to George and Melanie, who are the experts in these sectors, and to take on all this information and get help like sorting, where to go next.
Yeah,
Um,
and just as a side note, talking about the LA 28 and the event coming up, just so everyone is on the same page, LA has the stadiums, sporting infrastructure with all of the pro teams here that construction of buildings for athletes to compete in, not necessary. That is very unique to LA. The thing that is going to be necessary for construction purposes is transportation infrastructure. Unless if you want to sit in your car all day long, Joe, during the Olympics and never be able to work, we need to relieve the congestion with trains, metro, better roadways, no closed lanes, please, on the freeway during that time, and hopefully as many clean energy vehicles on the road as possible. So that's really where the need is going to be.
So that's another way to look at how this grant creates opportunities for thinking even further, right? Like beyond architecture, construction, engineering, just focused on what we think when we think about construction. These other ramifications of this work would be to look at transportation and all the occupations associated with planning and maintenance of, EV chargers, maintenance of EV vehicles. So all of those conversations can then be enriched by these resources. And we strongly encourage all participants of this grant to be having more conversations with your counterparts in other colleges, but also internally with your deans, and if you're a dean, with your faculty, and really have like these brainstorming sessions. And then the last thing I want to say is, of course, we also are seeing a number of policy developments coming up from the state government, indicating that they're ready to invest on construction, specifically for affordable housing. We know that that is a topic that is one that has been discussed for many years, but now we're actually seeing the policies pass. So we're seeing the governor signing legislation that will be opening up and facilitating the permitting processes. And so we are expecting to see that construction to take place in the next few years, and it will be quick. So if we don't get ahead of that timeline and really make sure that we start doing the training that needs to be done now, we're going to kind of miss that opportunity, because we know that there will be a whole lot of construction going up in LA to meet the what we know is an inadequate housing availability in this area. So all of those are opportunities that we hope people will understand, connect with sustainability and connect with climate. The built environment is a huge source of greenhouse gas emissions, right? From the materials that we use, the traditional materials such as concrete and steel, all the way to the way we utilize these materials, the way we build with those materials. All of those are opportunities for us to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions get closer to net zero. And also by electrifying our buildings to then start adapting as well. Mitigation and adaptation here are great ways to think about what these opportunities mean in terms of climate action. So with that,
Weatherization of existing structures.
that too, right? So retrofitting buildings,
Correct.
electrifying buildings. When we do, look at projects related to renovation, identifying the potential for replacing materials, utilizing alternative building materials, and all of those, we know there are topics that some of the 9 college partners are already exploring. And so we want to make sure that the data is there to support them as they move from this planning phase that we're in to the next phase, which is to actually propose new programs or the revamping of existing programs. George, do you want to add anything?
No, thank you. I think that was great.
And Andrea, anything to add? I don't know if Andrea's able to.
No, nothing to add. Everything was great. Amazing.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Luke. We
Joe,
really
can I
appreciate.
add one
Yes,
last thought, one closing
our
thought? So clearly we're highlighting the middle skill jobs required for all this work because that's what we do. That's our area for the community colleges. But I would be remiss not to acknowledge we're going to need higher skill jobs. We're going to need our urban and regional planners. We're going to need some folks in government. We're going to need those jobs that require a bachelor's degree or higher. We're also going to need lower skill workers that we don't train. So we're not really training these at community colleges. Maybe folks will get their start towards a higher skill job at the community college. But here is the good news is that that middle skill chunk in construction is quite large, to the tune of over 45% of those jobs. So we have a really, really great big opportunity, and I would argue responsibility to train folks with the right skills to get this work done. That's it.
Absolutely. I second that. I second that. And again, that is also something that we discuss internally about the fact that a lot of our students, they don't see themselves in a pathway to transfer, right? Like it's something that for them, it just feels like they don't belong in this space of academia, even if they're training for something technical. And so the programs like this one are an opportunity for us to engage those students in conversations and talk and have them connect with our counselors to really explore the possibility of, hey, you can get a part-time or even a full-time job right now and don't just eliminate the possibility of being on a transfer pathway to continue advancing. Chances are many of them will get this really good paying job and they might not be ready to go, all the way and transfer and get that bachelor's degree, and that's okay. But we do want to make sure that they have an opportunity to have those conversations and to connect with counselors. So I really love that you brought that up. And it's something that we will be emphasizing with the 36 fellows that we are recruiting for this grant. So this grant
Okay.
includes a fellowship program built into the grant. And so these 9 colleges, they will be the next phase will consist of recruiting 4 fellows from each campus. And these 4 fellows will become part of this initial cohort, this pilot cohort of 36 fellows. And those fellows will have an opportunity to meet with counselors, discuss what their pathway is, what are they thinking, exposing them to all the opportunities that they may not be aware of, possibilities through certification programs, our own certificates, of course. And then we will be placing those 36 fellows with host sites. So by then, maybe the Green Jobs Talent Pipeline might be ready to be shared, and those students will then be able to take advantage of that because that's exactly what they're going to need. They will be placed in paid internship or on-the-job training experiences by matching them with those employers. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Luke, just one question. When do you estimate that pipeline would be available? I know you said it's still in the works.
Uh, I can plead the fifth here, right? Can I? No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. So really, That's a great question, and I don't know how to answer it. It's not going to be before winter break. So when we get back in January, um, I'm undecided. It's too soon to bring it up at the Lacey event on because it's still not half baked. It's more like 78% baked. But it will be sometime next January likely. But please, George, don't come find me and cuss me out if it's
No, no,
February. Okay.
I'm just looking forward to it and just looking for an overall range to
Okay.
understand.
But
Yeah.
that
No,
timing,
we're excited about it, and I've been sitting on it for quite some time. Ferris that I mentioned that developed this, he was just on paternal leave, and so he's just getting back to it and cleaning it up with input from Ferris Kuar. So
oh,
there's two Ferrises
two
involved in
Ferris.
this
Wow,
project.
how did you
Ferris
manage
Kuar
that,
from
Luke?
Santa Monica, and
Wow.
then our Ferris Sukar, and
Wow.
then also some input from um, the Lacey Green Jobs
Colleen
regional
Menard.
partnership. Some folks from that have shared a lot of really high quality resources that he's now going back. He thought he was done, and he's not done. So he has more work to do. And so that's why I'm saying probably next January.
No worries. It will be perfect timing. That's when we're going to be recruiting our students too, or
Okay,
fellows, the
great,
36 fellows.
great.
So by the time we are ready to train them in spring, and even if you don't have the final version, we will be able to present whatever you have, the most, up to
Sounds
date.
good.
That's really great. So thank you so much, Luke. I appreciate
Welcome.
you. And hopefully everyone has a great Thanksgiving break. And we'll be forwarding this recording to all our partners. And so if you're a partner watching this, thank you for being a part of this program. And be on the lookout for those emails from George and Melanie for the one-on-one office hours that we're going to be scheduling. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
Bye, thank
take care.
you. Okay, you're
Bye.